The backpack. The size of the backpack depends on the climate that you're in, and it depends on the equipment that you want to carry. Now I'm going to assume that for the most part what we're talking about is spring, summer, early fall, autumn type time. So if you're in a winter environment or mountainous terrains, you're going to require a larger backpack. Even the jungle, you'll probably also require a larger backpack as well. The size of the pack really is just determined on the size of the equipment that you have to carry. So of course winter time you're going to have larger sleeping bags, heavier, larger bivvy bags, specialised equipment, whether it be snowshoes or ice axes or snow shovels or any of that kind of stuff. All of this stuff, even if you get compact versions of it, will add quite a substantial amount of weight. Generally the larger the backpack, if it's a decent quality backpack, will be able to, the load carry of that backpack will then increase. I think this pack is about, I think it's a 35 litre pack, and I purposely went for a narrow pack and removed the hip harnesses in order to accommodate a better fit with my belt rig. The items in here are really just to make your day or your night, more so your night, more livable, more comfortable. There's only so far you can go by roughing it in the wilderness with bivvy bags and sleeping covers that aren't keeping you warm at night. So you really need to at some point have something that's actually comfortable. So what do I carry in this pack then? The third and final layer of the modular system. First of all, just in this front pack here, generally it's where I would keep extra food and water. So I've got a brew kit here, I've got enough food in there for a push 2 days, reality 1 day, 1 day and 1 night. It also keeps snacks, the things that you want to eat along trails or whatever along the way, you would keep them at the front of the pack. At the very top of my pack I've got waterproof over trousers, waterproof jacket. The next thing that would be in here is actually my shelter system. So I have it set up at the moment over there. I'll be out here for a couple of days. So that's just I've got a tarp which will be kept in here, along with maybe 6 plastic pegs as well. On my belt kit I also have a poncho which can be used as an emergency shelter. It can be used as a ground sheet, which is what I tend to use it for. It can also be used for, if there's a sudden downpour and I don't want to put my waterproofs on, I can drape that entire thing over myself plus all of my equipment. Next thing in here is a sleep mat. You could reduce the size by getting a smaller, possibly better quality one than this one. This is the one that I am using at the moment. I will at some point probably replace my Thermarest, which if you've seen the video, after many years it eventually got a hole, and then I decided to cut it open and see if the long running myth about mould inside sleep mats was true by blowing into them, because that's all I've ever done. Spoiler alert, it's not true. One large dry bag, and you can see this hasn't got lots of little compartments and stuff like that. Like I say, I prefer to have just one bucket type pack. Inside here, it's heavy duty waterproof pack. I've got extra clothing. This is also doubles as my pillow, but in here I've got a jacket, a t-shirt, trousers, socks. That's really all I need. The idea behind that being, if you were to get absolutely covered in mud, trip over, fall in a lake, whatever it may be, so you would end up wet, you've got a dry kit. And then you would follow the wet dry kit principle. At night you would get out of your wet kit, get into your dry kit, sleep, get up the next day, put your wet kit back on, put your dry kit away. Next, sleeping bag, the warmth value of which will depend on, of course, the time of year that you're out and your location. This is apparently a 0-degree bag. This is a heavy duty military bivvy bag. I keep the bivvy bag and the sleeping bag together because it is additional waterproofing. You always have to assume that everything on your person, including yourself, might fall into a lake I've always had that way of thinking because it's actually happened before. So you have to be able to be confident that you could throw all of your equipment into the lake for 10 minutes or until you pull yourself out, and when you get it out, the outside of the pack might be wet, but everything that you need inside that has to be kept dry, like clothes and sleeping bags, especially a sleeping bag, stays dry. Doesn't matter if your mug and your cup and stuff gets wet, you know, but you have to waterproof everything else. So that's in there, and that, would you believe, is all I carry. There's nothing else in here apart from there's a waterproof cover for the bag. Nothing else. To be honest, this is a little bit overpacked for my liking. There's some items here that I could shrink down in order to make this a little bit more space accessible. You don't want to be putting any stress on the zips. A burst zipper on a backpack's a real pain in the arse to try and repair when you're outdoors. It can be done, but it is annoying. Like I say, the purpose of this type of system is modularity. So you've got to imagine that you've got your survival kit inside your larger grab bag, which is where the fundamentals of the equipment that you use or utilise when you're outdoors is kept. Everything from, you know, your compass to your head torch to your water bottles, your purifiers, all this kind of stuff. Some stuff is in your pockets. It's a good idea to take some of that stuff out and put it onto your actual body. Things like your fire steel, your compass, pace counter. Those are kind of things that you should have on your person, you know, your knife, stuff like that. Everything else is pretty much in there. And then you have this third and final layer, which is the big items. It's the shelter, it's the big shelter, it's the comfortable sleeping bag, it's the waterproof clothing, it's the extra clothes, it's the sleep mat, it's your food, additional food. You can keep a little bit of food, and you should keep water in your grab bag. You can put the additional stuff into this pack here. If for some reason you had to shed equipment or remove your equipment, this would be the first thing you would dump. So you would dump this, and then you would resort to using your grab bag for whatever reason that you might want to do that. If for some bizarre reason you had to even ditch that, you know, take your survival tin out of there, tie a bit of string around it, put it around your neck, and be on your way with nothing but that, maybe your water bottle. A modular system like this also provides you with the ability to come to your camp, set up your base camp using the bulk 8 larger items with a day sack and all of the most important and essential pieces of equipment. Be on your way with this. That way you're not having to put the contents of this pack into a larger pack and then walk around carrying a giant pack full of dead weight and empty space. That is basically all of the equipment that you genuinely need. The combination of which, or the type of equipment, it doesn't really change. It's just the only thing that changes is the weight and the bulk of the equipment that you're carrying. It'd be very difficult to get a 4-season tent into a pack like this. You could strap it to the outside, but then if you were going to do that, you would be taking a 4-season sleeping bag with you, you'd be taking 4-season clothing with you, and you would be taking additional fuel for cold climates, etc., additional food, and by that point you will have overloaded a pack this size to the point where it wasn't a particularly functional piece of equipment. So then you would size up. The size of this never really changes very much. The only thing that changes in here is the survival kit changes a little bit depending on the environment that you're in again. Jungle environment, coastal environment, temperate, desert, etc. But the fundamentals always stays the same. But that's pretty much it.